Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Around the Corner podcast series where we'll discuss the latest scientific trends and technological advances and what is around the corner and what is about to come in the world of advanced materials. Today we have our dear guest, Erik Khranovskyy, which I really hope I pronounced your name correctly, CEO of GRAFREN AB. Erik, welcome.
Thank you, Zina. Thank you.
So I am going to start by asking you, tell us about yourself. Who are you? Who is Erik? Tell us all the good bits.
Yeah, I will start from actually the professional experience. So I used to be a researcher in material science for the last 15 years, until 2015, in fact. So, and that was a wonderful world where you do many different and really exciting things. But then at a certain point, I just realized that now it's time. I just had I felt that I would like to do something much closer to the, let's say, to the society and to every single person. Because the result of the research is the new knowledge which you publish. And since I passed my 80 articles, I guess I lost the mood to publish 81, 82, and so on, and I wanted really to make something valuable. And I think that graphene was my last topic for the research, and I think that was very fruitful area to start with. That was my, let's say, introduction. Who am I? So I'm an entrepreneur right now who used to be a researcher. And that's a dangerous cocktail, in fact. And I will tell you later probably how many mistakes I made simply because I still brought my research mind with me into the business world.
Okay, no, continue doing that because I really want to hear. Okay, start telling us about the mistakes and the mindset of a scientist turned entrepreneur.
Absolutely. I mean, scientists, they are brilliant minds. I mean, they are people who who love to spend times in laboratories and who love to, they get the wisdom of the nature, and that's a really noble task, let's say. On the other hand, they are interested in, let's say, they love their science, and that's great, and that's a problem. Because many scientists, after spending, let's say, you can spend really, like literally 1 week in your lab, and you bring up something extremely exciting, small like that, and you do see the potential, like this is gonna save the world. People will get clean water. No one will be hungry and so on anymore. And you believe that since this point the world will be changed. The dirty truth and the hard truth is that no, nothing will change. It's just the research result, which still has a lot to do to be really commercialized and brought to the product. And as an example, for example, this year the last year already, the Nobel Prize was delivered for the invention of lithium-ion batteries, and the invention happened, I don't know, 40 years ago or something like that. So it took only 40 years for the batteries actually to really be on the market, what is happening right now. So, and that's a big difference in the mindset which researcher has, and for example, the businessman or entrepreneur has. We can call also, or we can give the example of innovator, and that's probably something in between, the person who see the possibility in the new research results and who knows the roadmap how to bring it to the market. Now you still have only 24 hours in your day, right, per day. I still have a family and 2 beautiful kids, so 24 by 2, okay, 12 hours I can spend doing actually doing my stuff, and which means you have to invest them in the correct way to push forward your project in this case, and really, how to say, focus on your goal, because research is more or less curiosity driven. You really have to be curious in what you are doing, and once you see the new opportunity, something new, something exciting, you should actually turn there toward that. But if you have the project which you push forward and you have the milestones and have the clear aim, you are not allowed to be a researcher anymore, if I'm allowed to say that. So you really have to be very focused and then for example, what happened with us, that we started the company in 2018, and that happened because we had a beautiful research result, which was showing that graphene can attract the metal ions from the water, and especially heavy metals, and that's the mercury and the poisonous stuff. So we thought, like, this is going to be the big thing. We will save the world. And so we started the company, and we started to, let's say, commercialize the product based on this invention. However, when we started, we simply had the results. We didn't even realize how far from the product we were at that point. So in the research world, you believe that what you have in your lab, what you have in your, let's say, in your Excel data sheet is a product. And this is what people need. And that's wrong approach to be an entrepreneur, because there you should be very market oriented. And the first thing you have to check whether there is a need for this product. And the second thing what you have to do is whether there is a need for this product. And the third thing, yes, still. So you have to, before investing your time, your efforts, your sleepless nights and so on, you have to check whether there is a need for this product. Once this is passed, then you still have to see on the market what are the other solutions, for example, if they are good enough, and are they used now, and what will make people actually start using your product. Mm-hmm. And even if we are talking about the social entrepreneurship, where we don't aim really on making making money with a huge X, many X's and so on. You still have to take into account the people's behavior. For example, still talking about the heavy metals, that it's only 1 year passed after we started the company, and then we realized that there are many actually competing solutions in the market. We should have known that on the very next day.
It sounds so obvious, right?
Before we started the company. Yeah, but it took us one year to learn that. So actually there is something else, and it's used, and it's much cheaper. And then we faced also some let's say hard reality, which was that sometimes if you promise 3 times or 300% better efficiency, it's still not enough for people to change the behavior. Sometimes what is good enough, especially at acceptable price.
And Erik, this is really refreshing to talk to you and hear this, because I absolutely agree with every single point that you brought up. I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. I remember that first, when I was doing my postdoc, I started my first company, and I stepped out of the lab and I'm thinking, we got something, this is it, this is a patent number. And stepping outside and looking at this world, and at that point we didn't even have like a standard terminology for graphene. I come from the CVD side. So the first smack in my face was, I sit down to look up graphene and I see people are selling this powder. And for me, coming from physics, I say, but that's not graphene. For me, it's one atomic layer. It always is on a substrate. That big reality check of the world outside is so different, and we don't know it. We don't even know. We haven't even decided what to call graphene. So there is so many different people who are outside using for different purposes. And then what you just said. It sounds so strange that people would not check to see if there is an existing solution already on the market. I don't know why that happens, but I think that our passion blinds us. We go into it full force and we don't even want to look around. And then you look back and you say, well, just wasted a year. Not wasted, but you know what? We could have been a lot more focused if we knew that this existed. So I absolutely agree.
On the other hand, it's maybe the way which you have to go by yourself, and don't listen to. I wouldn't listen to anyone who would suggest me, oh man, check that one first. So it may be the experience which you have to accumulate.
And I think that we should do this in academia. That's what's missing. Look, we have a lot of researchers, a lot of us who go into this and say, okay, now we want to translate this into something new. But we don't have that experience. We don't hear this podcast of somebody saying, look, we had something and we did this. If everybody knows that the process of you bringing something from the lab into the market usually takes a few decades, then you would not be promising stuff that says it's going to change the world. With changes in the media, people hear it and they say, well, you guys were supposed to be changing the world with graphene right now. We're supposed to be having this and that. And we said, no, this was not supposed to happen. It just came out in the media. And no matter now what we offer, people say, so what? We thought you guys were going to do this and that. So
there is one danger, let's say, too thin ice that or like kind of trap there. The reality, the second reality, or like the second opinion from the reality is that eventually you should not. I mean, starting a company, working with graphene, you are still charmed by that beautiful magic material, and you start every single presentation with, we work with graphene, we do graphene, we know graphene, but the truth is, like, those people, I mean, pardon me, but they don't care. They really don't care. Are you working with graphene, goat cheese, or something even worse? As long as they get what they want, and they want usually what they want. It hasn't happened that graphene was the only material to create some extremely revolutionary new product. It hasn't happened yet. So until now it has demonstrated only improving functions for some other applications, which means that you have what you sell, you have to sell the value which graphene can bring to the potential customers. Would that be, stronger and lighter composites for the airplanes or spacecrafts? Would that be, conductive textiles, lighter, with some better characteristics? But you really have to sell the value, not the material, because otherwise you may get a fame of just graphene mission.
The hype, hype of graphene, right?
And as long as you are not the Nobel Prize laureate, you are not allowed to be that.
That's a good perspective, and I absolutely agree. I say the same thing. I like that you use goat cheese, because I say, call it whatever. If it adds value, nobody cares what it is. They will use it, you will make money, you'll be successful, they will like it. For you guys to go out there and say, graphene, it is graphene and ours is the best, who cares what it is? Call it whatever it is. If it is good, you'll have a customer. And I agree with you that the majority of the products and solutions that we have right now on the market, graphene it's not the unique value proposition of graphene yet. We are making airplanes lighter, we are making this and that, but could you have golf ball? Could you have it without graphene? Yes, you could. Is it making something better? Yes, it is. It's enhancing functionality, which is great. But
exactly, that's if you allow me to interrupt you, please. That's the problem of graphene. If you ask what is it good for, it's good for everything.
Yes.
And it makes everything better. But it's for most of the application, it's not better enough. And for the rest of them, it's too expensive. So that's the world we are living in.
And what is your company right now working on? I also want to go back afterwards. I want to go back to the treatment of wastewater, which is extremely important. Yeah. But first, I want to ask, what else is the company doing?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I said, we started with this idea, and we spent several years on putting it to pushing it to the market, in fact, and which never happened. Because our first thought was that would be actually the filter against heavy metals for potable water, for drinking water. And that was extremely difficult task. Even starting from some technological points that we could not guarantee that no single flake of graphene will actually be lost in that water. And we wouldn't allow people to drink graphene as far we don't know that's healthy. So that's why we had to change our focus, and we did it. And then we thought that it might bring some other value to probably other industry. So what we have found that was mining industry, because usually those guys are big players. They are playing with big machines on large fields, literally, and they use water. They use a lot of water to wash. Sometimes they wash through the. Oops. Can you see me? Yeah, I'm back. Sometimes they wash through the ore. Sometimes they use water for transporting of the ore, and then this water, of course, it takes up a lot of contaminants. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they're extremely nasty, like arsenic. but usually they have metal ions there, and that can be any metals who are also present in the world. That can be copper, that can be aluminum, zinc. Sometimes it can be really valuable metals, those ones which are called rare earth metals, and they are very expensive now, and they will be even more expensive because of some political movements at present and in the future probably. So we turn us toward the mining field, and as I said, the field is huge, large, literally. So everything what is happening is they are planning for 30 years, they do the projects for 10 years and so on. So for us, there was no chance probably to survive during that project without payment and so on. So we developed the strategy how to actually to find specific niche in that business. And then we had to come up with some added value or know-how even more. And that was the idea actually that graphene can not only uptake the metals, but we can actually release those metals afterwards. So what can happen that we may take the pool, the lake, with 10,000 of liters of bad water, and transform it into, let's say, 1 ton of extremely bad water. Bad in a sense that it has all those metals inside. And then it's quite easy by very simple electrochemical reaction to really get the metals. And that's the stage where we are at right now. I just came from the lab, so we got the main plot, the main dependence in percentage. So if you have water like that, here is percentage which of metals. Every specific metals, of course, is different. We have different sensitivity to different metals, but this is what you can get out of your water, and I think that's the main selling result which we have right now, and that's graphene for heavy metals purification, for metals uptake, and metals recovery. Basically, we can turn hazardous waste into valuable resource.
And the question is now, how long do you think it will take until it will be a viable product that you can actually see implemented? By the
we are very realists. We assume that it may never happen. On the other hand, we will have to wait a few more years to see what will be the conjuncture on the market, because we are still more expensive than any other materials, materials basically, which can do the same, more or less the same job, but we are much more efficient and we take much less space. That's what we do, and that was that we call that technology filtering. So this was one of our products, which I said it took 3 years for us, but then we got some experience on our own. And we decided that we may probably to have some other projects involved with graphene in our, let's say, portfolio and working on. So we have, during these years also, we have developed the technology for separation. And the problem for that was that you definitely know that right now in graphene market is a bit still wild west. I mean, when you mention that how to say, pile of or like powder of black powder on your table. The thing is, and the problem is that, and we are talking about the graphene flakes right now. That graphene which you can obtain from the exfoliate in the carbon. The main problem there is that in the whole world there is absolutely zero company which can sell you and guarantee that you will get 100% of graphene. And that's not only because there are still some lack of definitions what can be called graphene. There are all of their standards for that, but still it has to occupy the whole graphene society around the world first. So that's not only because of that, and the nature actually allows us always to get a range. You never get 100% pure.
Absolutely.
But you have to have a dispersion of something bad, something which is really not good.
It's a distribution.
So, a distribution, exactly. Distribution in thickness, and of course there is our lovely stuff is distribution in lateral size. And that's a total mess. In fact, but that's not that dangerous as long as they are real graphene in thickness, 1, let's say maximum 2 layers, that's fine. But the thing is that for some applications, the mixture. So people actually who are selling graphene, they don't lie. They say we have graphene in our materials. That's true. Sometimes they have 1%. Sometimes they have more than 50%. That's also true. But the thing is that sometimes this material is very, very okay for certain applications. And that can be, imagine the paint for the ocean liners, anti-rusty paint. Still fine, it will be thick as few millimeters. You don't really care if you get something bad in that mixture. But if we are talking about the brain electrodes, yes, then you better keep the quality high. So, and this one we started really from the right point. So we saw the need on the market, and then we started to work on this project, and we developed the process for separation. So basically, what we can take whatever you can buy on the market, put in our it's still laboratory-based system, and in 24 hours we are able to separate high-quality graphene from everything else, as we say.
Interesting. So is it based on lateral size or is it based on thickness?
First of all, we focus on the thickness. It's based on the weight.
I see.
It has to, okay. So it's still gravity which decides. But we can tune the system in a way that first we separate everything which is thicker than, let's say we can tailor it until 10 layers of graphene, and 10 layers. This is the limit which is dictated by the standard.
Graphene nanoplatelets.
Which is now, yeah.
Okay, that is super cool.
Yeah. But I still have maybe 20% left to tell, so I will. And that was our, let's say, second product, which we still believe we can commercialize somehow. But the more we work with people, and the more we talk to customers a lot before investing and so on. And the more we talk, we see indeed that this is an advantage and this is a need. On the other hand, to build the business model on that, we would earn something about tens of percents, let's say, of the income in comparison to the revenue. And what we recently have realized that maybe it would be better strategy if we start developing the products based on high quality graphene, because then we would have the advantage of using a real or a true graphene for our products. And that would be that added value which Graphene Society is trying to sell, let's say, not to get to sell. So, and that's where the project with artificial bones came.
Yeah, I saw that on LinkedIn. That was the reason why I actually contacted you, because I saw this post pop up, and it had a very convincing picture, which was that little bone in your ear. And I was looking at it. First of all, it is strange to me that there is such a small bone in our body. But go ahead. So what was that about?
Yeah, so that was a little bit project aside, but what we have realized that there is also a need. Now we started with a need, and that was very fast. So we had to check if there is a need and so on. The thing is that the smallest bone in our body has weight only 6 milligrams, and it's like that small. It's actually a few millimeters, even less anyway. And this bone is the reason why we people get deaf. Help me with. We lose our ability to hear because of any traumatic happening, or because of actually the some kind of wearing of that bone.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, and then the thing is, of course, there are many implants on the market. So people just make a surgery and they put those titanium implant, or it can be platinum coated and so on, and that's quite advanced technology. But this is where you can never treat physics, because the bone has the weight 6 milligrams. But if you put something which, and the task of this bone is actually to vibrate in the range in which we can hear, and that's something from 20 to 20,000. But then the point is that if you put something which is heavier, it cannot vibrate with the same frequency. Like whatever you do, so you definitely cut part of that vibrational spectrum, in fact. So On the other hand, we cannot put anything which would be say lighter, because we still have to have the strength of the. And at present, there are no such materials, let's say polymers in this case, which would provide both of these things: the strength at the same weight and size. And you cannot make a composite for the planes, for example. You can make a composites, and they would work. But if you know how the composites are made, I mean, you have a table where you put those layers one by one. You can never do that on this stuff. So the only solution was 3D printing, or micro 3D printing. And once again, there was not possible to use any like fiberglass or carbon fibers to put inside during the printing, because they are too large.
Yes.
And you would affect the surface of the bone, printed bone, by adding
Makes sense.
any of those additives. But graphene is a perfect candidate in this case. It's actually flexible, and it still works as a reinforcement.
That's fascinating. So you guys made that 3D printed bone with graphene nanoplatelets in it.
Yeah, at present we made the real scale prototype. Before, we have had maybe 150 a little bit different size prototypes. So now we are testing the properties. There are still a lot of issues, and we simply may fail. We are completely open to that, but so far everything goes well.
I like your honesty, and I like your really sense of realism. That's what's missing. If more people were like you, I think that we would have a lot more success with graphene.
Yeah.
So what is the next step for
just
it?
to make a teaser for the future, if I'm allowed to, for example, but we are really looking for some really innovative graphene applications, and one of them would be, for example, that now we are ready to start another project, and this is about the cyborgs and robotic skin. Really,
Love it. The next generation of us, the cyborgs.
It's very viable, and graphene will work.
So
well
what
there.
is it? Tell us a little bit of a teaser. What is it?
Yeah, the thing is that those guys, either the robots of the new generations, and then we are talking about the robots which should somehow communicate with us humans. So they not only should feel when we press the button, they should feel when we touch them, and they should feel when we actually, push on them, or when we are clapping them.
Yes.
So they should be able to perceive that information, and that first of all for the kind of healthcare and so on, not only for the military, let's say. And then, so for this type of application, there is another aspect of that. For example, any type of prosthesis and implants. Let's imagine the person should get the feelings also. And we know that there is a guy in the United States, I don't remember, Elon Musk, yes. He is working with Neuralink now, and so we will definitely have that interface soon. Once there will be such an interface, so we can prepare this sensitive skin for the cyborgs for the future.
That is so fascinating, and I think that is one of the things when I think about graphene and the unique value proposition. That's it. Things like that where you cannot really have any other material taking that space, or we don't have any contenders in that space for a material like electrically conductive with that kind of biocompatibility, et cetera. So I'm excited to actually have this conversation with you, learn more about what you're doing, and so many different, the variety of the things that you're working on is really fascinating.
But we have to be careful, and that would be my advice also to other, let's say, newcomers to the business world with a material science idea. We still have to prioritize. We are not allowed to spread us too much and into different directions. So we have to keep the same core technology, and in our case that will be that we can get the highest quality of graphene, and then to find the most fantastic, my Swedish is coming out, the most fantastic applications which can be done specifically on this grade of material.
I agree. We can't chase every shiny thing, right? As shiny as they are, you can't do that in a business. You can kind of do that in research. You know, if you've got the grants, you can do a lot of that, but you need to stay a lot more focused in business. Well, Erik, it was such a pleasure speaking with you. And before I let you go, I want to ask you, what are you cooking tonight?
Oh, actually, I was, if I can, I'm allowed to say that, I was mentally helping my wife cooking paella. So,
sure, mentally helping by sitting.
It was
right
not only me. We were three of us just running around and playing. And usually at 6 o'clock in Sweden, it was 6 o'clock. I used to be a dinosaur, and that's what my kid loves. And in this case, we were helping Mama to cook paella.
Yeah. So in Sweden, that's exciting.
Yeah.
So is that what you're going to be eating right now?
I'm looking forward to that.
You're looking forward to it. Well, I'm sure that there's something really yummy and delicious waiting for you. I want to thank you again, Erik. It was a pleasure speaking with you. And you are reachable on LinkedIn, right? If anybody wants to reach out to you, they can find you on LinkedIn. Thank you again. And
thank you, Zina. Thank you. That was a pleasure talking to you. I hope I managed to deliver the messages I wanted. I still have a lot. So
we will be in touch now that we know you. We know each other. We're going to be in touch, and we're going to and if there's anything special that is coming out of your company, please send it to us. We'll send it to we'll publish it on the platform, on the AMPT platform. Well, thank you again, Erik, and have a great day. See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Zina. Bye.